On the day I sold my house, my son asked me if I was planning to die. I looked at him over a box of dishes and, for the first time in years, told the truth. No, Caleb. I'm finally planning to live. He was 32, with a mortgage, a wife named Emily, twin daughters, and a habit of speaking to me as if I had already become part of the family archives. Mom, don't do anything stupid. Mom, you'll regret this. Mom, at your age, people are supposed to think about peace and stability. At my age, as it turned out, people start hearing the clock louder than other people's advice. I was 54. For 28 years, I had lived in the house on Willow Street. Caleb had grown up there. My husband, Robert, had died there. Every neighbor knew what day I mowed the lawn, and the mailman knew I always picked up my letters after 3. One morning, I stood in the kitchen, staring at Robert's coffee mug that I had never taken down from the top shelf, and suddenly understood something. I was guarding a museum where no one lived anymore. 2 weeks later, I called a realtor. The house was bought by a young couple from Denver. The woman was pregnant and kept one hand resting on her belly. Her husband asked me if it had been a happy street. I wanted to give him a graceful answer, something mature and gentle, with the smile of a wise widow. Instead, I said, there was happiness here. But it left before I did. After the sale, I had one suitcase, an old Jeep, and enough money in my bank account to make Caleb's eye twitch. He came by on my last evening. He stood in the empty driveway and told me I was acting like a teenager. I laughed. Loudly enough to embarrass him. Sweetheart, when I was a teenager, I was far too obedient. I spent my first night in a roadside motel outside Kansas City. I bought a red dress Robert would have called too bold, and had dinner alone in a bar where old rock music played from the speakers. A man named Jack asked if I was waiting for someone. I said, I've been waiting my whole life. Tonight, I stopped. He laughed, and we danced between the tables until the waitress started clapping for us. The next morning, I drove south. I watched the sunrise in New Mexico, ate peaches at a gas station in Georgia, got lost near a small town in Louisiana, and for the first time in 20 years, I didn't panic when my phone died. In Santa Fe, I bought a silver ring with turquoise. In Nashville, I sang karaoke so badly the bartender poured me a glass of water and said, "Honey, that took courage." Sometimes Caleb called and asked where I was. At first, I answered honestly. Then I started saying, somewhere between yesterday and tomorrow. In Arizona, I met a woman named Margaret. She was 68, traveling in a van, and described herself as retired from being useful. We sat by the road eating tacos from paper plates, and she said, the scariest thing isn't growing old. The scariest thing is realizing you spent your whole life being convenient. That sentence went deeper into me than any knife ever could. A month later, Caleb texted me. Mom, are you coming back? I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I took a photo of the ocean in California, my bare feet in the sand, and the red dress moving in the wind. I replied, someday. But not as the woman who left. That evening, I stood on the beach and laughed while the waves washed over my ankles. I didn't have a house, a schedule, a husband waiting for dinner, or neighbors who needed explanations for my choices. But I had the road. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I had lost my foundation. I felt like I had grown wings.